Hi there, welcome to this iTeach event. We're going to be talking about some Google stuff. I'm Heidi Olson. I'm the Learning Design Coordinator for UAF eLearning and Distance Ed, and with me is...
I'm Dan Lasota. I'm one of Heidi's minions, one of the designers here at eLearning.
Yeah, welcome. Thanks for joining me today, Dan. We're going to just show some things that we like about Google or we don't like about Google, and just share some things we found that are interesting, and just have a little talk about why you might want to use some Google applications in your class. I'm sharing now a short URL that will take you to iTeach U, specifically this resources for this recording. And just a reminder, this is an iTeach Plus event, and we have these events several times a week, and we will have them throughout the summer. So there is a URL for the events calendar. So I encourage you to check that out and join us for other iTeach events, and also just let us know if you have any ideas or desires for topics.
Also, if folks feel encouraged to share something they've recently used in their classroom or some research that they'd like to chat about, it's a good forum for that sort of thing, and we've done that in the past with faculty.
Yeah, that's great. We're excited to be able to support UAF faculty in their teaching and learning. So one thing, so let's get started. So I'm a Google user, and I use Google on my desktop and on my iPhone and on my iPad. And recently, using the Google Calendar app was not so fun because they didn't have a specific application just for iPads. It looked okay on the phone, but on the iPad, you didn't have the functionality. So finally, they have come up with an iPad application for calendar, and this is just a screenshot, but it's much easier to use. Since you have an iPad, you have a little bit more real estate than you have on a phone. So there's more features that are you can get to easily. So I'm really excited that that they have finally come out with a updated application for the calendar.
Tell us a little bit about that screen, Heidi. That looks like a single day view, but yeah, it looks like you're viewing multiple calendars.
Yeah, so you're right. This is a single day view, and I show multiple people's calendars on my main calendar, just so I can make sure I know what folks are doing. I've got people color coded so that I have a quick and easy visual. Yeah. Do you do something similar with your calendar, Dan?
Well, I don't. I usually use Google Calendar on my desktop, and generally there's only two calendars I look at. One is my work calendar, and then our shared design team events. So for instance, at a quick glance, I can, well, instead of just describe it, why don't I just show it?
Yeah. I'll just take this moment. If you are viewing on the YouTube's channel, there's the opportunity for you to chat with us, ask questions, make comments. So I encourage you, if you're on that site, to participate with us by questions and answers and comments.
So are you seeing my calendar now?
Yeah, I do see it.
Okay, so I've color coded myself blue. It's my favorite color. So there we go. Everything in blue is me, and then the yellow is the design team. And so at a quick glance, I can see that the design team is doing something with virtual iTeach and Google Trends. That's what you and I are doing now. And then immediately following this, we've got a virtual open lab, etc. So Um, yeah, I see the way different designers work, and some people like to see what everyone's doing, but I have a hard enough time just concentrating on myself. So this is my default view. But if for instance, let's say I was trying to get a meeting arranged with Kristen, I could click on her name, and now she's in brown stripe, and so I could see she's pretty busy over the next couple days,
Yeah.
unless I schedule a meeting at 10 p.m. on Thursday. She's not available. So
Yeah.
that's my view. And I do, I'll switch back to just talking head mode here. The other place that I generally use Google Calendar in is on my phone. Maybe like right after the gym, before my 10-minute ride to work, I'll just take a glance at the upcoming events of the day to make sure I didn't miss anything. And on my phone, it's generally just stuck in single day view. I don't see the whole week because, again, that's beyond my event horizon. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow on my phone, but you can switch easy.
Yeah. Well, I
But
hope that when you're looking at their calendar, you're actually not driving.
no, that would be impossible until I get one of those smart driving cars. That won't happen.
Right. Well, so I work remotely, and I find that the calendar just really helps me keep in touch with what's going on in the office, since I can't visually see that. So I rely very heavily on the calendar to keep me informed.
The other thing that we all use the calendar for is planning for resources, and mostly rooms are lumped into a resource. So for instance, I'm sitting in our conference room right now, and I made sure it was open because I looked and no one was using the conference room. So in this event, I just tagged it. So I have the room reserved for an hour, and we do the same thing for the media studio. That's another resource that we use quite a bit. And you can arrange with the folks at OIT if you want to have a shared resource. So for instance, we share our media studio that's in the third floor of the library. All of the library staff can edit that, in the journalism department and everyone on the design team. So all of us we can look ahead and see, well, next Friday's booked, I can work on Thursday. And you can grant permission for people to use particular resources, but like for an ongoing shared room like that, that's a good way to go.
Yeah. Another thing is that most of the design team have their calendars open to the public. So if you want to schedule a meeting with one of us from your calendar, you can just look at our calendars by adding our user name, and you can find our calendar and see what we're up to. It may just say we're busy. We may not have given you details of what we're actually doing, but at least you can see what free time looks like. So if you wanted to schedule a meeting with one of us, you could do that. Really, really nice way to work with your peers is by sharing your calendar. It saves the email exchange going back. Well, how about Friday at 2? How about Monday at 1? It saves a lot of that.
Trying to put 3 or 4 people in the same meeting, the email, that becomes impossible.
Yeah, so let Google help you with that. Google Calendar, a lot of strengths there.
Mm-hmm. And you don't, depending upon the event, you don't have to be so, so detailed. So like if you're on sick leave or you're going to have a doctor's appointment, you don't have to say which doctor. You just say doctor or SL.
Yeah.
And people, you can downgrade permissions and viewability for particular events, but I don't know how you have your calendar, Heidi, but mine's just open to the world. So everyone's tracking me all the time, including the NSA. So
I think I'm the same way. I have to check, but yeah, really good points. Anything else about calendar?
Do we want to talk? Yeah, well, as an instructor, and I'm sure you've done this too, um, it's another way to get away from the email game. I've done this in the past. Uh, let's say I needed to schedule a round of student conferences where either they're going to join me on a Hangout or they can pick up the telephone or come visit me in the office, either way, any one of those three ways. So rather than try and adjudicate 20 separate times or more, if you're teaching more students than I normally do, um, I just create a range of calendar slots. And what it does is create empty boxes, and then I share my calendar out with folks. It's always the same URL, so I have that saved somewhere and I can just email it out to people. And then they go in and they pick out what time that they want to call or visit with me. And that's a really good way when you're trying to just meet with a whole bunch of people, but you don't know exactly when. You just give them a range of days. Um, and I'll try and pick a couple different time slots, like maybe say Monday and Tuesday from 9 to 12, and then like on Thursday I'll have some evening hours for people who are working during the day. And once you share that resource out, they just go ahead and say, "Yep, I want to be there, Wednesday at 11." And then I get an email, they get an email, and that gets reserved so no one else can select that time. And that works out really well. And I kind of mentioned the email thing. You can also turn on email notifications or texting notifications. So when someone does, let's say, Heidi, you invite me to an impromptu meeting this afternoon at 4, I'll get a text on my phone and it says, Heidi just invited you to a meeting. Okay, I know what I'm going to be doing it for then. So
That's right.
yeah.
I think that that's an action that's really similar across many of the Google apps. That idea of sharing and collaborating. You can, when you share something with someone else, you can generate that email message. So there's sort of two different ways of notifying people of your actions, is through the sharing itself and then through that notification email. So I think that is safe to say.
I don't know about you, but I always tend to also send a separate email, just sort of as another polite way of, like, it's more human generated to say, I just sent, you probably got a calendar event, like, not probably, I know they just did. So they'll see the calendar invite and then my personal email right below. But maybe that's just old school.
Yeah.
No one's complained about that yet.
Yeah, I'm sure it depends on what the event is and
yeah,
your familiarity with that person. So cool.
And of course, you can also embed your calendar into lots of LMSs like Blackboard. I don't think that that's so useful though, because I don't think people go to Blackboard to look at your calendar. If they want to just see your calendar, they'll look at your calendar. But just tuck it away that you can do that if you want to.
Right. We have a shared design team calendar. We're for faculty events like this. So we do embed that calendar on multiple sites to share information. So yeah, that's a really good point.
Oh, and one last thing. I promise this is my last thing on calendar. When the other thing I use it for, and I go old school on this, is I print. I go to month view, and let's say, so this summer, I need to plan out when my assignments are going to be for summer 2017. So I'll print out May, June, July, August, and I will. I'll just get 4 pieces of paper, and it looks like those old-fashioned grid calendars people hang on their walls, if they still do that. And then I can just pencil in with an actual pencil my dates, and then that's my worksheet. So you can always go real old school like that if you'd like.
Yeah, for sure. I do that when I'm for planning purposes for like iTeach events. So
sure.
it's a
little
handy.
scissors and glue action, and you can see the whole thing.
Right.
Sometimes it's good to
Different,
get away from the computer.
yeah, colored pencils or crayons or, except for
That's some
dandelion, right?
that's advanced.
Yeah. Can't use dandelion anymore. Well, I've got a couple things I want to talk about in Google Docs.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to share here. What happened?
Maybe you hit the share button twice.
Are you seeing it?
I'm seeing it right now.
All right.
The 4 pie charts.
Yeah. So I don't know. This is something that you might not use all the time, but it's one thing that is handy, and I know people that have used Microsoft Word have found this handy. But now you can format your words using capitalization. So now I can change lowercase to all uppercase, or I can change formatting to title case through that formatting option.
Mm-hmm.
So that is new. Like I say, it's not something you're going to use all the time, but it sure is handy to have that. And there's a couple of add-ons that I have been using a lot recently. And one of them is called Show. And in Microsoft Word, you can choose to show hidden characters. And since I teach InDesign, being able to show hidden characters in InDesign is very important, so you can see where extra carriage returns are, where the extra spaces are. And so this is something that I have been missing from Google Docs, but there is now an add-on. It's called Show, and it gives me different options for showing different kinds of hidden characters. I'm just going to say Show All, and it's going to, in a minute, show me all of, well, here's a paragraph style. There, I guess it doesn't show spaces, but it will show, it doesn't show tabs either. So it is showing the paragraph styles.
I saw a hierarchical menu. I bet you could show different things there.
Yeah.
There was
So we
like
could
show all.
show non-breaking spaces, spaces tab, so I can check that. Let's just see here. Yeah, there's a space showing. I can highlight all of those, so that's an easy visual for those. So once again, it's not something that you might use all the time, but when you need it, it's there, and I think that's really helpful. One thing I noticed, which is different from Word or from InDesign, is if I actually printed this, it would print with those characters showing. Whereas in InDesign, in Word, if you print, the printing hides them. So be sure before you print it out, if you do want to do that, to just go ahead and hide them all again. And they disappear.
Okay.
Anyway. And the other one, which is, I think is interesting, and I don't have my students collaborating in Google Docs, but as a student, I've done it. And had I known about the revision history analytics, I think that would have been really interesting. But what it does is it looks at the revision history and makes different calculations. So so these were the students in a doc, and it points out the different actions based on the revision history. So we can look at total interactions, total edits, comments versus making edits, total words, which I don't think is that important, but the option's there. But it breaks it down by user, and it also creates this little visual chart. So if you did have students interacting in a document together, and you wanted them to perhaps self-evaluate their participation, this might be a tool that you could share with them, and have them, self-evaluate. And perhaps they might want to do that early on in the assignment, to know, oh, I'm really not towing the line here. I need to be more productive. One thing with analytics is this is marking tick marks. It's making tick marks. It's not evaluating the quality of those interactions.
Yeah,
so,
it's just a dashboard level view.
Exactly.
You have to think about what you're looking at.
Yeah.
But at a glance, it gives you some starting point of a conversation.
Right.
Like Heidi's been really goofing off here in this doc.
Exactly.
You got to bring your paragraph count up by next Wednesday, or we're going to put something in your permanent file.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, those are two. I think add-ons are a really great feature of Google.
So where do you go shopping for them if you want to find more and see what's out there? How do you do that?
So I'll just share here again, and we can look at that. So from the menu bar, you have an add-on menu item.
From any doc, you just go to that menu.
From any doc, right? And this is the same in Sheets and Slides. But if you go to add-on and then down to manage add-ons or get add-ons, that will pull up the add-on store, and you can search for business, education, productivity, etc. Let's just see if there's anything under foralaska.edu. No.
Would that be like ones that were approved or written by folks here?
Yeah, it would be institution-related add-ons.
Okay.
So, marketing, if marketing wanted to, they could add an add-on for UAF graphics or fonts even. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. I can't, but anything institution specific. So that might be an interesting project for a computer science class to create.
Sure. Or some of the English classes could create templates for letters to legislators, maybe.
Yeah, add-ons are different than templates, though. So add-ons add like functionality. Anyway, you can see that I have a bunch of add-ons. Most of them I've just downloaded to play with. Some of them are more useful than others.
I see you downloaded the word cloud generator.
Yeah, I think word clouds have a nice purpose,
Me too. I'm not a word cloud hater. We're in the minority, though. Once in a while, they're okay.
Yeah, for special purpose, Yeah.
Special purpose for special folks.
That's right. Always an intention, whatever you do. Any add-ons that you use, Dan, or that you
No, running pretty vanilla here, so I haven't added any. Well, further on in our document, I did put on the unpaywall. We'll talk about that later. That's one I had. That's a browser add-on for Chrome.
Yeah.
And Firefox, but it gives some functionality when you look at articles, journal articles.
Yeah, cool. A couple other new things that are semi-interesting with Google is that Google Plus, when they first came out, they were really, you had to have circles. You had to have Google Plus circles, right? and they're retiring those. I think, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, they're going away eventually. I know at first it was helpful when you wanted to have shared conversations, but I think communities have sort of taken over that.
Yeah, I always had a lot of angst when I would add someone to my circles because I'd never changed off the 4 categories. I had family, friends, acquaintances, and then I would always do this painful soul searching, like, is this more of a friend or an acquaintance? And like, what if they ever find out what circle they're in? And nothing bad ever happened of it, but I probably spent more time trying to categorize people. And now I won't have to do that anymore.
That's right. Yep. They heard you, Dan. They heard you.
Yeah. The angstometer was too high.
Yeah. Another thing that is interesting, in the past, if you attached a video to an email, the receiver would have to download it to watch it. But now, if you attach it, you can view it right within Google. And if you had added a YouTube link, that was always viewable in the email. But if it was an attached video like a move.movie or whatever .mp4, you'd have to download it first. Unfortunately, there is still the issue with large file size, and usually when you attach a large video file to an email, it's going to ask you to put the video inside of Drive, and it's not going to send it anyway. So this would only be good for videos that are under 25 megabytes.
I often get the message, even let's say I take a bunch of files and I load them up to Drive to attach to some email, or it'll say scanning for viruses. And then, but when someone tries to look at them or download them, it'll say it's too big to scan for viruses. So it does it on the way up, but not the way down. I don't understand. But generally, I'm passing files between, someone I'm working with right at my desk or something, and so we know what files we're sharing. Generally, it's video files of some large, multi-minute video take of something, and Google tries its best to scan for files for viruses, but then it gives up after a particular size.
Right.
So you get that message once in a while.
Well, I guess, Google's protecting itself as long as what gets uploaded is okay. It doesn't really care on your end, but yeah, that's interesting. Are you a Google Earth user?
Once in a while, I sure am, yeah. Generally, when I'm about to go on vacation or travel somewhere, I like to look at the spot that I'm going to be staying at, and just to see, how close is it to the beach or the mountain trail or whatever. See what the surrounding area is. And flipping between street view and satellite view is often interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm sure everyone's checked out their own house, where things are.
Yeah, or where they grew up.
Right.
What's changed. So Earth.Google is now browser friendly. So you don't have to download the Google Earth application.
Okay.
So that is also something that is new. And I think, maps have always been browser friendly, but the Google Earth itself was
that almost deserves a whole other talk. I mean, it's a very rich application with multiple layers and route planning. You can say you want to go from point A to point B, like walking in a car on public transportation. There's a few, I know they put some Easter eggs in there. So like if you say you want to go to Tokyo from San Francisco, it'll it'll tell you from your house where to go, get on a street corner, get in a cab, and then it brings you to the Skidoo rental place, and then it has you skidooing across the Pacific. They have a few things like that. Maybe it's only enabled on April 1st or something, but
Yeah. And that's how the car drove off the pier.
that's right. Well, we did have, that was with Apple Maps, but folks were here in Fairbanks and they were driving across the runway because
Oh.
Apple Maps told them to go to the east ramp and go across to the the commercial side of the airport. And people were driving across because that's what Apple Maps said to do.
Yeah.
So I think Siri was arrested later on that day.
You had mentioned, Dan, some Chrome extensions.
Yeah. There's a whole bunch of Chrome extensions, and you can go to the, I think it's the Chrome App Store or store. What is it? Let's do a Google search and find out. So here I am. I'm going to do a Google search. Chrome App Extension Store. Chrome Web Store extensions. So here we are. There's a whole bunch. And you can, let's say you only want to run the ones that are published by Google, presumably better tested, better supported maybe. So here they are. And if you want to, I'll pick one that I won't mind having on temporarily. Let's see, Google Art Project, that sounds fun. So this tells you a little bit about this particular plugin. And there's a button up there that says Add to Chrome. I'll click it, and it asks me, are you sure? Yep, I'm sure. And then, are you able to see my cursor?
Yeah, it's up in the upper right by the 3 dots.
Yes. So I'm pointing at the newly added tiny icon for Google Art Project, the extension that I just added. And it's right there. So I won't cover this one because I don't know exactly what it does. But is this a good point to jump onto Unpaywall maybe?
Yeah, let's see that.
Okay, so Unpaywall, you can get there just if you go to unpaywall.org. I know that because I was just here recently. So it's free for Chrome and Firefox, and that yellow button will just take you to the store. And I know that this version of Chrome is running on paywall because the middle icon up here in the top left corner, that tells me it's alive and running. So the main purpose of unpaywall.org is to find alternative free copies of journal articles. And oftentimes an author will, they enter into agreement with the publisher, and the publisher bundles it in some issue of their online journal. But the author also has permission to post, a PDF copy of the same article, maybe on their personal blog or their institution site. So I'm going to jump over to Google Scholar, which is scholar.google.com. It's basically the Google search engine, but it only works on peer-reviewed published articles. So I'm going to type in, let's see what comes up when I type in Google Apps for Education. There's a whole bunch of articles, and clever folks can see that I've already visited this one here. So I've already vetted this one. I'm going to click on it again. Google this using Google Apps for Collaboration. And this is typical of what you'll see when you pull up a little bit of information about the article and usually the abstract. And you'll notice that this little green tab shows up on the side. That means that Unpaywall has already searched in the background and found a free copy of this article. So if I click on that, this just pulls up the article. And here it is. This is the PDF viewer for Chrome. And so I'm looking at this particular article. And if I want to download it, I can just download a local copy. So that's the article. And if you do anything of the sort where your local library doesn't have a copy of the article, which happens to me quite a lot. I mean, our Rasmussen library is really good for most things, and you can search across multiple databases. And if you're patient enough, you can get almost anything through interlibrary loan. You know, I've had folks from the University of Indiana scan old-time articles, and it arrives in my mailbox, 3 or 4 days later. But being the impatient jerk that I am, I generally want the articles right now. So Unpaywall really helps for that, especially gray literature or journal articles that have been submitted for publication, but the publication date isn't there. Oftentimes the author will pre-post the article and it's available. So that enables my impatience. So that's a good one for me.
Yeah.
I think I have to mention at this point Ad Blocker Plus too. There's several versions of ad blockers, but this particular one, it basically tricks your browser into thinking that it groups together a whole bunch of advertisers' websites. So and it works across a bunch of websites. So like if I was to go to CNN, rather than seeing a whole bunch of sponsored content and ads and so forth, I wouldn't. They just don't draw on my screen. It also works on services like YouTube. So generally, when you click on videos on YouTube, if you don't have ad blocker, you have to watch a 5-second ad or 15-second ad that after a while you can skip through. I never see those. And there's like a little arms race between publishers of content and the ad blockers. And right now the publishers are starting to win a little bit because they'll detect an ad blocker, and so I'll wait for the ad blockers to catch up. But it's a good consumer tool, and it cleans up web pages quite a bit.
Great. Is there a specific extension name that you use, Dan?
I'm using the one, and they're all confusing because I use similar names and similar icons, but I use Ad Blocker Plus. So that I'll show you how confusing that is. If you let's go back over to the Chrome store. So we're back to that journal article, and let's see, Chrome Web Store. So if we go back over here and type in ad blocker, you can see there's a lot here.
Mm-hmm.
And I would bet that there's probably a review site that has a nice grid and tells you the different features. One of the things that's happening now is that these single authors and small companies, the publishers of these ad blocker programs, they get paid by publishers to kind of whitelist their content. So to say which one is best probably only holds true for a week or two until someone else rises to the top or one falls to the bottom. So you have to try them out and take a look at them.
Yeah.
So I'm weaseling out of any firm recommendations.
Well, that's, another thing with Google is, yeah, you just gotta try, since they allow third-party folks to help write the functionality of some Google apps. You have a variety of things. Some are more reputable than others, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So I have an extension that kind of goes along very well with your what was it called? Unpaywall, and that. So this is Google Earth, but this app is called it's called Google Scholar Button, and it helps you with citations. So here I have a book that I was looking at today. It's called Teaching Crowds. And if I highlight the title of the book and I go up to my icon, which is a little blue graduation hat,
Mm-hmm.
if
Mort
I
or
click,
something, right?
yeah, exactly. If I click on that, then it searches based on what I have highlighted, and it's come up with some options. And this first one is actually the option, the authors for this book. And if I click on the quote sign, I get a variety of styles to help me with the citations.
Could you
So
demonstrate?
yeah, oh, yeah, it's not popping up, is it? Here, I think I have to share differently. And this is going to get wild. Okay, pay no attention for a second, because we're going to go through the tunnel, because that's the only way I can share the pop-up window.
Okay.
So I'll try to be fast. Okay, here's my shared. Okay. Come on. How come it's not? Oh, it only wants to share one window. All right, can you see my?
Yeah, you're looking at the Teaching Crowds
Yeah.
Learning and Social Media page.
Yeah, so now I can go up to my Google Scholar button, and now you can see the additional window.
Yes, yeah.
And if I click on the quote sign, then I get different styles with the proper citation. And I can add that if I used EndNote or any of the tools here.
It seems like they have a bug there because APA isn't at the top.
Yeah, I don't know why it's not alphabetical, but yeah, I didn't notice that before. But this is really helpful. You can just copy and paste this into your report. It doesn't give inline citation help, but it helps with resources. So this is just a website, and then here is a second article. Once again, you just highlight the name and then go up to your little mortar hat and verify that this is the correct article, and then go to the quote mark, and then here is the APA for this specific article.
Right.
And I found it to be pretty accurate when I used it recently. So,
yeah, you always have to double check any sort of reference or citation program. They're only as good as the page is marked up, and so sometimes the article will have a published date, but your tool won't pick it up for some reason. So you have to have a pair of human eyes on there.
Right.
Hopefully your own.
Yeah, and this only works for citation for anything you can find on the web. It's not going to help with web pages or Wikipedia articles or anything like that. But I definitely found that a quick way to find a proper citation.
Okay.
So, you and I, when we were talking about this session, we were talking about how Google is always making updates, and usually when you're demonstrating something gets updated and the feature isn't quite as you expected. It is hopefully enhanced. But we talked about,
that scene in Harry Potter when the students first come into Hogwarts and they look up and all the staircases are moving around, and
Yeah.
at one point you have to take that staircase to get to the wherever you're supposed to go.
Right.
But then you have to take another staircase, and that's the way Google products seem to me. It's in constant motion, and there are always going to be stairs, but you might have to pick a different one and get used to changes, constant change.
Yeah. And that, it can be a good thing if you're not waiting for updates to fix things. For instance, in Blackboard, there's some things that aren't working, and
it'll take 2 years just to go through the process.
Right. And we know that there are fixes out there, but they can't be deployed for various reasons. And that can be really frustrating. So with Google, you know that those fixes are happening, and things are changing so quickly that they are usually able to keep up, or they're driving the changes themselves.
Right. And sometimes features that you like and you've grown to depend on, they go away.
Yeah.
That's life.
Yeah, but they also have. It seems like they respond to requests eventually. So if you do find yourself missing a feature, then send them an email, and maybe you'll be able to talk them into bringing it back.
Maybe.
Or hopefully it'll change again, and whatever. Anyway.
Well, we've been through a lot of changes with the way Google does stuff, and I mean, you used to have to sign in, or you had to have Google Circles to get into YouTube, and it's like, well, now Google Circles doesn't really exist anymore, and you don't have to be that way, and there's a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth from time to time, but you're still going to be able to create documents and share them with people and plan your next week out. It might be slightly different, but it's going to be okay.
Yeah. So when I think you mentioned this, when you're working with students, if you have that student who might be a little tech phobic, then you just need to reassure them that to keep at it. And I think as you become more digitally literate, then you're apt to just kind of go with the flow and do what you can and not stress out about it. So
it brings up a good strategy point when you're trying to create computer-specific or application-specific tutorials for your students. So, for instance, probably half of my students have never done a screen sharing or a video broadcast or recording of themselves talking. And so I have to spend a little bit of class time covering how to do that. And my instructions I try to make them as general as possible, because if I make them very specific, highly procedural with, this is the way the menu looks and you have to go over here, I not only have to worry about different platforms, but also changes that ripple through constantly the ecosystem that is the Google product suite. So rather than be so brittle and create instructions that are so specific that next week the screens look different and that can throw people off, I try to be more general. And my instructions and like videos I've created on how to do things then they'll last a couple years before I have to redo them again. And I think one of the big tricks of being an instructor in such like a kind of chaotic space, especially with when students who aren't that technically literate, is to project your own confidence, assuring them that it's going to be okay if it doesn't look exactly the same, and not to get flustered over things. You will come across different mysteries, like the color of your create a document button will be different than other folks. Like that happened to me. We couldn't figure out why I have a red button and other folks have a blue button. It didn't matter. It's fine. It's still a button. Just
Still
click
a button.
it. Yeah.
Exactly. Good.
Where are we in the document? We got about 9 more minutes left for our session here.
I think we did pretty good. One thing I wanted to share was just how to keep up with changes.
Mm-hmm.
And I have kind of 2 sources that I check or I'm subscribed to, and one is just the G Suite updates, which is just a blog, and Google updates, adds their updates as they make them, and they're usually pretty thorough about the changes that they make and provide examples. So I go there like once a week just to see what's going on. And I've also began following Eric Kurtz. He's a K-12 teacher, but he has this controlachieve.com website, and he at least twice a week, more or less, he is looking at Google Apps and applying them to the classroom. And he provides, K-12 teachers are often more, use Google products probably more in their classroom than higher ed folks, but he provides some really great examples of different Google products that come out and how they can be used. And he creates templates and shares them. So I follow him and have found some good stuff. So I encourage you to check him out. He's on Google Plus as well as, you could subscribe to his blog.
Yeah, those both sound like good resources. You didn't list Magic 8 Ball there as far as the source.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. There's, lots of them. So anyway, I think we probably covered some really good stuff here. Google has a wide range of products that are within the suite of products, plus, the whole other augmented reality and virtual reality and coding, and they have a wide range of applications that they produce and share. So I encourage you just to check those out. If there's anything that you'd like to know more about, please, contact us, and maybe we could put together a little workshop or some how-tos. Thanks for joining us on the web stream. This is a iTeach Plus event. Thanks, Dan. This was fun.
Yeah, thanks for chatting, Heidi.
Yeah, and look for the next iTeach event on the iteach.uaf.edu events calendar. So thanks for joining us.
All right, talk to you later, Heidi.
Okay, bye.
Bye.